On your European playing days, I think you're in a very unique position to answer this question. And I know that this is sort of like taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm going to ask?
No.
Oh, because you gave me the look like you know. I have seen some quotes here, and I'll read a few to you if you want to react to these or give me your take. The differences between the NBA and Europe. A lot of people talk about the rules. We could go over the rules, but I'm not super interested in it. People know the rules at this point. Giannis said the game in Europe is way harder than the game in the NBA. Jokic said you have to have quick thinking. Luka said scoring is easier, in the NBA. John Thompson, God rest his soul, said the Europeans are better prepared systematically, and as the result of it, rather than seeing themselves as entertainers, they still see themselves as teachers. Those kids are learning fundamentals and being taught the game of basketball. Our kids are being taught to be stars, even if they aren't stars, and therefore they don't even learn fundamentals. I have a Kobe quote as well that I'll read to you in a second, but do you align with what they're saying?
100%. 100%. I think the biggest difference in terms of the game itself, I think it's a lot more team oriented than it is here. Here, let's just take the NBA, for example. A lot of guys here get by on individual talent, not necessarily play calls or anything like that. It's just individual talent. You're a better athlete. You're a better shooter, whatever the case may be. Over there, it doesn't really work like that because defenses will shift to take you away. Like they will game plan to take you out of the game. And then you have to figure out a way to get yourself back in the game. So, like Jokic said, I think over there, you're not going to find as many great athletes, but way better, like way higher IQ in terms of reading the game, like putting two and two together, pass, give and go, because that's how they have to get by. If you're not an athlete, if you can't like do certain things at an extremely high level, what can you do? So that was, I think, like the biggest, transition for me was that's kind of how I had always played, was playing on my like instincts. So when I got there, I was like, whoa, this is different. And they really kind of take time and prep and everything. But the biggest difference that I noticed was how much they take time with young kids and really develop, work on skills and everything like that. You have, and I think the biggest thing or organization to blame here is AAU.
Okay, so the Kobe quote,
Yeah.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Okay, because that is perfect. He said on the European versus NBA front, I just think European players are just way more skillful. They were just taught the game the right way at an early age. It's something we really have to fix. We really have to address that. We have to teach our kids to play the right way. He would blame AAU basketball. Horrible, terrible AAU basketball. It's stupid. It doesn't teach our kids how to play the game at all. So you wind up having players that are big and they bring it up and they do all this fancy crap and they don't know how to post. They don't know the fundamentals of the game. It's stupid. Thoughts?
I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. I think AAU is one of those things where it's so misleading in terms of, people here think it's such a great opportunity, such a, it could be used as such a platform or a springboard to propel you to college, propel you to NBA and everything. But at the end of the day, like you're missing the biggest thing. You're not learning how to play. Yeah, you guys are going to all these showcases, you're going to all this stuff. And again, you're getting by on individual talent, skill, ability, whatever the case may be, but you're not learning the game. You're not learning pick and roll coverages. You're not learning how to switch defensively. You're not learning how to guard certain guys, different various defenses, whatever the case may be. Like you're not learning how to play. And you go to Europe and these kids are playing, 3-on-3, 2-on-2, 1-on-1, like all these games in practice. Here, you don't do that. You know what I mean? And like you're doing that. But the biggest thing too is like they have guards doing big man drills and bigs doing guard drills. So it's like they're preparing you to be able to do everything. And I think a perfect example of how Kobe was saying, like they're so much more skillful in everything. When was the last time you saw a guy come from Europe to the NBA and you said he wasn't skilled?
Oh my God.
Every time
I have
a guy,
no idea. Maybe a name that you gave only because I've seen him shoot a three. And this is like an hour ago, but Omir, I guess.
Again, but he was a prototypical 5.
Yes.
Then
100%. Yeah.
And
powerful,
so he was
big,
literally
only
powerful,
rebounding.
big, rebounding, defense. That's
Dunks.
it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. And that was still what, 2009?
That was the D Rose
2010,
years.
2011.
Mm-hmm.
So now you look at how the game's developed and how all the big men can shoot, all the big men can drive, all the big men can post and everything.
Yes.
But these Europeans that come over, a lot of them aren't athletic. A lot of them aren't quick, but they know how to play. Look at Luka. Look at Jokic.
Look at the Spurs.
Look at the Spurs. Like
they recruit them.
So for me, it's always funny, like when we have these conversations about, basketball and AAU and everything. To me, I'm like, okay, so explain to me how guys like Jokic, who literally couldn't jump over a credit card, Luka, who I think my dad could probably outrun, are dominating the league. How?
Fundamentals, and they think about the game differently. But also they slow it down.
That's the biggest thing.
They really do.
And the other thing, too, that I noticed with those two in particular is they have fun with it. Jokic is just toying with the league. Luka, same thing. I think Jokic is on a different level than Luka.
Oh, completely, yeah.
But
they're also different players.
But in the sense of like just playing at their speed, not getting sped up. Two perfect examples of guys that like control the game with their pace. And guys have tried to speed them up. They've put long defenders, quicker defenders, smaller defenders. They don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to AAU and everything, I think that's the biggest thing is kids get to college after AAU and you watch a lot of these college games and there's so many like basic mistakes that happen that could be fixed if kids are taught to play the game correctly. And I mean, we could go on and talk about AAU and now you have NIL and all that stuff. And to be honest with you, I think the importance of basketball and the game itself has gone down the shitter, for lack of a better word, because kids now the priority is, okay, how do I work on my game to get NIL, to make more money? And then, like we talked about earlier, you asked me why I didn't leave. Different mentality. Back then it was, no, I want to stay and prove myself and prove that I can play. Now, as soon as you're not playing, you're off to go somewhere else. Where can you get more money? That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking a perfect, great example. I talked to a guy who works at Wisconsin. He's in charge of like NIL, and he's like, I sat in on 2 basketball meetings this past summer on 2 kids that were like looking to transfer. He's like, Duye, within 5 minutes, the first question they ask is, how much can you offer me? It's not what type of system, where do you see me? No, it's how much can you offer me? Like, that's what we've come to. It's just money. Where can I get the most?
Mm-hmm. With AAU, isn't there a certain aspect that we didn't touch on, which is like the politics of it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
that's the elephant in the room.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you don't play for a certain team or a certain circuit, you might not get the kind of coverage or exposure that you want. And, there's a lot of teams that don't have the funding that other teams do. So a lot of kids who, quote unquote, might be better or better prepared for college don't get that exposure, don't get scholarships, simply because other guys are playing for teams that have sponsors, whatever the case may be, or kids or parents with deeper pockets, So I think that's like the biggest thing is it becomes a lot of times about who has more money or who can kind of like market their team better, not who's playing better, because there's a lot of teams who can't travel because they don't have funding, right. They can't afford it, who might be better, but you don't see them, you don't hear about them because they're not at these big circuits.
Right. Isn't there also like, there's the angle of certain AAU teams being signed by Nike or being signed by Adidas or being signed by Reebok. So there's like the pipeline from them being on a Reebok AAU team wanting to basically like a Reebok school then having the upper hand in potentially getting them to come to their school.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. A lot of times these kids, especially before, now I don't know how prevalent it is just because of the amount of money that can be offered for NIL and everything. But a lot of times that was a big effect. You know, if kids knew that they were going to be one and done, and for example, they're going to sign with Adidas, they're not going to go to a Nike school. It's not going to happen. But if they're Nike guys and they want to go to a Nike school, you damn well know some big Nike execs will make sure that they somehow decide whether it's Duke, Carolina, you know, whatever those quote Kentucky, whatever those schools are that are Nike, that they end up there, you know? So there's, as you said, there's so much politics. There's so much stuff that goes into it. I just hope that, you know, at some point down the road, there can be a happy medium with all that stuff so that we can really put an emphasis on basketball and not the stuff outside of it.